Well, Ava, this is your mom, and I am going to tell you the story from beginning to birth of when you came into the world on April 13th, 1995. So, here it goes. It was a super sunny morning that morning, and Tammy and I decided that we were going to go to IHOP for my last breakfast. I think Tammy had already had Adrian and Michelle had already had Heather by then, and I think both of them kind of knew that I wasn't going to be able to sit and enjoy a hot meal after you were born. So I think that was Tammy's idea. So we went to IHOP and had the last breakfast, and I ordered sausage and pancakes. We were sitting there eating, and we were waiting for the hospital to page us. They had pagers back then, not cell phones. And so we knew that when that page came in that I needed to head to the hospital immediately because they had an appointment for me to get the induction going. So of course, about halfway through breakfast, I wasn't done yet, the page comes in. And I kind of a little bit panicked, I think, because I hadn't really done like Lamaze classes or anything like that. I don't know if I thought I was going to wing it or what, but I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go in there and, get her done. And so Tammy and I headed off to the hospital, and I don't know who got in touch with Grammy and Michelle, but they ended up coming to the hospital too. And so we get there, Dr. Cronin, who was my gynecologist, OBGYN, and then also your pediatrician, came in, had talked to me, and then the nurses came in and they put the belt on my tummy and we could hear your heartbeat and took my blood pressure and everything was fine. And then they hooked me up to the IV of Pitocin. And I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. And it was kind of slow going initially, and so I don't remember if it was the nurse or the doctor, but someone came in and said that I should go walk the halls. And so Tammy and I went out into the hallway, and I can remember walking down the hallway, and all of a sudden I felt something. Now this is probably, I'm going to warn you, this is TMI, but this is what happens. So we were walking down the hallway, and I was, pushing the little IV thing on wheels. And I felt something drop between my legs. And I was like, what in the actual hell was that? And I looked at Tammy, and I must have given her a look. And she's like, what? And I said, something just dropped between my legs. I don't know what it is. And Tammy lifted up the front of my gown. Now, mind you, I've got no underwear on, and we're in the middle of the hallway. And Tammy goes, oh, yeah, that was your mucus plug. Now, remember, I did not have Lamaze classes, so I didn't know what she was talking about. So when she said mucus plug, I was like, can you give me some more information? And she was like, oh yeah, hold on. She went and got some paper towel and literally scooped it up with the paper towel and threw it away like it was nothing. And I was standing there like, what's happening? And so then Tammy explained to me what a mucus plug is, and I was like, oh my God, okay. So then I started to get a couple contractions in the hallway, and we decided that probably should go back to the room and get situated. So got back in there, and then Grandma and Michelle were there, and I was super modest, and so I did not want anyone to take pictures. I didn't want anyone to do video. Thankfully, Michelle doesn't really listen, and she did get pictures of your birth, and I am so happy that I have them now. She was careful. She didn't angle the she was, careful about how she angled the camera. But I started having back labor. Oh, I should say, they gave me the Pitocin, I want to say it was 9 or 9:30 in the morning. And so pretty soon the contractions started getting harder and harder, and then they were in my back. Now I had back labor, and I can remember Tammy pushing on my back so hard, my lower back, and I kept saying, harder, push harder, to try to relieve that pressure. Man, your forehead must have just been like right up on my spine. I don't know, but it hurt so bad. And the nurse came in and said, "Do you want some pain medicine?" And I was like, "Oh my God, yes." And they gave me a pain medicine shot in my IV, and I think it was called Stadol, now that I am thinking about it. And whatever it was awesome. But it only lasted for like 15 or 20 minutes. And so when the nurse came back in, I was like, yeah, I'm going to need some more of that because that helped. So they actually gave me more, but said that that was all I could have. And then they came in to give me the epidural, and they gave me an epidural, and that didn't really work. And I was in labor for, I don't know, probably till about 9 o'clock, maybe 8:45, somewhere at night, somewhere around there. And then all of a sudden, I felt like I had to take the most ginormous poop in the entire universe. And I was like, oh, I think I have to push. And so Grandma was standing there, and Michelle was standing there, and Tammy was standing there, and I was pushing and pushing and pushing. And I can remember Grandma looking at Dr. Cronin. She was so upset, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, her face is so red. Is she okay?" And Dr. Cronin was like, "Yeah, it's because she's pushing really hard." And then I started to like yell, and I was like kind of yelling while I was pushing, and Dr. Cronin told me to be quiet. And I got so mad that I pushed like extra hard, and I broke my water, which my water had not broke yet. I broke my water all over her. And again, TMI, but amniotic fluid doesn't smell super awesome. And so it was pretty gross that happened, but I thought it was amazing. So I pushed and pushed and pushed, and then out you came. And see, I knew I'd get all teary when I was telling this story. Out you came, and the doctor said, "She's a healthy baby girl." And she laid you on my chest, and you were crying, and I held out my finger, and you put your little hand around my index finger. And you stopped crying, and you looked up at me, and I will never forget that first eye contact that we had. It was magical. And Grandma cut your umbilical cord, and you just laid on my chest, and you just held my little finger. And I just had my hand on the small of your back. And that's how you came into the world. And I will never forget that moment. On Thursday, on April 13th, at 10:13 p.m., my life changed in ways that I could never, ever imagine. And got to experience love and what it meant to love something and have something love you back in the most unconditional ways ever. And you were beautiful. You were pasty white. And you had bright rosy red cheeks. And Grandma said that you had rosy red cheeks just like I had when I was born. And you had these bright blue eyes, and you had straight black hair, whole head of black hair. And it was beautiful. And the next day I got to take you home, and Grandma had bought you a pink baby Dior little onesie that was, I think it was $75 at the time. That was a lot of money back then. That was like spending $300 on a piece of fabric that, you know, was tiny. And that's what you came home in, is your little pink baby Dior little onesie with the white scalloped collar on it that Grammy got you. And we named you Keziah Ayva Louise Thomas. Ayva because I just loved that name. And Louise after your great-great-grandma, Gladys Louise Hopper, who was about 4'5" tall, weighed about 100 pounds, and was just a little spitfire. And Keziah was the name of your great-grandma on your dad's side of the family, and she had passed away, and your dad had always said that he had promised his grandma Keziah that he would name his first daughter after her. And I wanted to make sure that he had that, that was something special on his side of the family that I wanted to make sure that we incorporated into your name. And you were 21 and a half inches long, and you were 8 pounds, 8 ounces. And you were just magic. And ever since that day, you've just been the love of my life. And I just can't wait for you to know what that feels like. And on this particular recording, I wanted to leave you with the song that I sang to you over and over and over again. I think I probably sang it 10,000 times. From the time that I brought you home from the hospital until probably you were a toddler. And it was, "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away." I love you to the moon and back, my sugar plum.